Hi Emerson, just call me Gigi. And for everybody else, I'm Susan Walker. I'm an artist. This is my studio in Issaquah, Washington. And years ago, and we're talking 30 years ago, I was a first grade teacher. And I wanted to share some of those skills with Emerson as he's learning to read. He's a kindergartner, so join us if you can. Thank you. See you soon. Just call me Gigi. Hi everybody. Before I start our lesson for today, I wanted to show you this book that we read the last time, and I have since talked to someone with the right kind of ethnicity and heritage that can help me pronounce the author and illustrator's name correctly. So it's Dyer Cower Khalsa. Dyer Cower Khalsa. That's as close as I can get. Okay, now let's get ready. Just call me Gigi. Today I made a list of all the friends' names so I can say hi to everybody. So, hi Emerson, hi Abby, hi Izzy, hi Taylor, hi Parker, hi Olive, hi Maddie, hi Finn, hi Miles, and hi Riley, hi Evan, hi Jacob, and hi Max. And I know there are more of you out there watching, but those are the people that have let me know they're loving Just Call Me Gigi. So today, we've got some books to read, and we're going to start in on our last of the short vowel sounds, which is the vowel U, which can say its own name, U, but it can also make the name of a very confused person. Let me show you the picture cue. Okay, here's the picture cue. It's a very confused person. Here's how it sounds in a word. D, k, b, z, buzz, buzz like a bee. D, k, duck, duck. Okay, first book is going to be a very short book, and the title of the book is Buzz, the word we just learned. So let me go get the book. Okay, here's our book. Buzz, said the bee. Let's look at the author. This is the person that wrote the book, Wendy Cheyette Lewison. And the drawings, the illustrations, are by Hans Wilhelm. Once there was a bee who sat on a duck. Quack, said the duck. There's a bee on me. And the duck said, scat. But the bee just sat. So the duck quacked again and sat on a hen. Cluck, said the hen, there's a duck on me. And the hen said, scat, but the duck just sat. So the hen danced a jig and sat on a pig. Oink, said the pig, there's a hen on me. And the pig said, scat, but the hen just sat. So the pig took a bow and sat on a cow. Moo, said the cow, there's a pig on me. And the cow said, scat, but the pig just sat. cow began to weep and sat on a sheep who was fast asleep. So the cow said, "Moo!" And the pig said, "Oink!" And the hen said, "Cluck!" And the duck said, "Quack!" And the bee said, "Buzz!" And that's all there was. The end. So that's a book full of rhyming words. And I bet a lot of you could read that on your own. That's got lots of short vowel sounds in it. Okay, we're going to be reading a couple of more books. One is The Little Blue Truck. I'm all confused. And the other is Make Way for Ducklings, one of my favorite books since I was a little kid. And I wanted to introduce to you the idea of two letters that stand next to each other in a word that their sound blends together, and they're called blends. And the word duck and the word truck are really good examples of one of the primary blends that I want to show you today. So, see how the C and the K, and I put a circle around it, they make the K sound. I mean, a C makes K and a K makes K. And together, when they're right next to each other, they go K. It's pretty obvious. Sorry. Okay, and in The Little Blue Truck, there's also a K. And so the CK is on the end there, but the two first letters in the word truck are T and R. Tur. So you just kind of slur the sound together, blend it together. Tur. These are also called digraphs. As we start to learn about these, your teacher might call them digraphs. And that's the same word as blends, and it's usually two consonants. And remember, the vowels are A, E, I, O, U. Okay, friends, let me get the books ready and we'll start reading. Goody. The Little Blue Truck, written by Alice Schertle and illustrated by Jill L. Murray. The Little Blue Truck. Horn went beep, engine purred, friendliest sounds you've ever heard. The little blue truck came down the road. Beep, said Blue to a big green toad. Toad said, croak, and winked an eye, and the little blue truck went rolling by. Sheep said, meh. Cow said, moo. Oink, said a piggy, and beep, said Blue. And I notice a rain cloud coming over here. Cluck, said a chicken, and her chick said peep. Meh, said a goat, and Blue said beep. Neigh, said a horse. Quack, said a duck. Beep, said the friendly little blue truck. Honk, yelled a big dump truck. I'm coming through. I've big important things to do. I haven't got time to pass the day with every duck along the way. Brum, brum. Vroom, went the dump around a curve. He saw a puddle and tried to swerve. Into the mud rolled a big fat truck, and his big important wheels got stuck. His heavy-duty dump truck tires are sunk down deep in the muck and mire. "Honk!" cried the dump, and he sounded scared, but nobody heard or nobody cared. Then, into the mud, bump, 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 came the little blue truck to help the dump. Little Blue pushed with all his might. Now Blue and the dump were both stuck tight. "Help, help, help," cried the little blue truck. "Beep, beep, beep, I'm stuck, I'm stuck." Everybody heard that beep, beep, beep. The cow came running with the pig and the sheep. Up at a gallop rode the big brown horse. Goat jumped over the fence, of course. The hen came flapping with the chick and the duck, and everybody pushed the little blue truck. Head to head and rump to rump, they all pushed Blue, who pushed the dump. They couldn't quite budge that heavy load. Then who hopped up but the big green toad? All together, 1, 2, 3. One last push and the trucks were free. "Thanks, little brother," said the dump to Blue. "You helped me and they helped you. Now I see a lot depends on a helping hand from a few good friends." "Beep," said Blue, "who wants a ride?" Everybody scrambled to jump inside. Oink, quack, meh. Moo, cluck, beep. Neigh, croak, meh. Beep, beep, beep. The end. That one's got a lot of rhyming words in it too. That was fun to read. Now the next book is longer and has a whole plot line. Unlike Buzz and the Little Blue Truck, which are rhyming books, the next one has a real plot, which means a story, a problem that needs to be solved. Okay, let me go get the book. Okay, my friends, here's the next book, and it is Make Way for Ducklings, and it's written and illustrated by Robert McCloskey. Make way for ducklings. And a duckling is a baby duck. And sometimes ducks are called mallards, mallard ducks. And that's going to be the name of the mom and dad in this book, Mr. and Mrs. Mallard. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live. But every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked like a nice place, Mrs. Mallard said it was no good. There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on and on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. Ah, the very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard, so down they flapped. Next morning, they fished for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond. But they didn't find much. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Mallard, being polite. The big bird was too proud to answer, but the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water. So the Mallards followed them all around the pond and got another breakfast, better than the first. "I like this place," said Mrs. Mallard as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. "Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There are no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good," said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her. But "Look out!" squawked Mrs. Mallard, all of a dither. "You'll get run over." And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies, with all those horrid things rushing about. We will have to look somewhere else." So they flew over Beacon Hill and around the State House, but there was no place there. And they looked in Louisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "That island looks like a nice quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden." "Yes," said Mrs. Mallard, remembering the peanuts. "That looks like just the right place to hatch ducklings." This is the island they have their eye on. So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until new feathers grew in. But of course they could swim, and one day they swam over to the park on the riverbank where they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that the Mallards called on Michael every day. After Mrs. Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. She moved off the nest only to get a drink of water or to have her lunch or to count the eggs and make sure they were all there. One day the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, then Cack, then Lack, then Mac, then Knack, then Whack, and Pack and Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings, and it kept them very busy. One day, Mr. Mallard decided he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like further on, so off he set. "I'll meet you in a week in the public garden," he quacked over his shoulder. "Take good care of the ducklings." "Oh, don't worry," said Mrs. Mallard. "I know all about bringing up children." And she did. She taught them how to swim and dive. She taught them how to walk in a line, to come when they were called, and to keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me." And before you could wink an eyelash, Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack fell into line just as they had been taught. Mrs. Mallard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. There they waded ashore and waddled along until they came to the highway. Mrs. Mallard stepped out to cross the road. Honk, 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 went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack, 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 went Mrs. Mallard as she tumbled back to the sidewalk. Quack, 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 went Jack, Cat, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack, just as loud as their little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quack, quack, quacking. They made such a noise that Michael came running, waving his arms and blowing his whistle. He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand to stop the traffic, and then beckoned with the other, the way policemen do, for Mrs. Mallard to cross the street. And there she is, right over there. As soon as Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police booth. He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street." Clancy said, "Family of what?" "Ducks," yelled Michael. "Send a police car, quick." Meanwhile, Mrs. Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned onto Charles Street, with Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack all marching in line behind her. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who swept the streets said, "Well now, ain't that nice?" And when Mrs. Mallard heard them, she was so proud, she tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was the police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back the traffic so Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings could march across the street. And right into the public garden. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policeman. The policeman smiled and waved goodbye. When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, there was Mr. Mallard waiting for them, just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much that they decided to live there. All day long, they follow the swan boats and eat peanuts. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and go to sleep. The end. Okay, my friends, three actually, if you count Buzz, 3 good books, all with the short U sound. Like you're really confused, huh? Duh. K. Duck. B. Z. Buzz. Now the word duck had 2 letters right next to each other, the C and the K. The C makes a K sound and the K makes a K sound. And when they're right next to each other, if you just kind of smush those 2 sounds together, K, duh, K, duck. And when you smush them like that, kind of a more formal way of saying it is to blend the 2 sounds together. And your teachers might also call it a digraph. Here's, from the little blue truck, here's another example. The T and the R, T, T, Ter, 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 So those are called blends or digraphs. And our next series of lessons, we're going to focus on how blends work and practice with blends. And we can make tons of rhyming words once we understand blends. So this is really going to be challenging and really going to be good as you learn to decode words. It's just going to help you so much to understand blends. Okay, everybody, thanks for being here today, and see you for our next lesson, blends. Okay, bye-bye.